Hello there and welcome to World News Program, streaming to you live on All 24 News. I'm your host, Kunifa Zachary, and up next are the headlines. In the Gaza Strip, 82 martyrs fell victim to 8 new Zionist massacres within just 24 hours. Additional casualties occurred in Shuja'iyah due to bombing. And the occupation continued its siege on the Shifa complex for 13 days and targeted civilians in central Gaza with bombings. And on Lent's Day, 48th anniversary, occupation policies intensify, prompting thousands to march for Gaza's peace. And President Abdelmajid Tebboune reaffirms Algeria's support for Palestine's full UN membership, while the Arab Parliament advocates for international justice and an end to the occupation in Palestine. Three UNIFIL officers and a civilian translator were wounded in a Zionist raid on a UNIFIL vehicle in southern Lebanon. The Lebanese Foreign Ministry is filing an urgent complaint within the UN Security Council. Also ahead, the Algerian president anticipates GDP reaching $400 billion by the end of 2026 for Algeria, and the International Monetary Fund expects strong real growth for Algeria in the current year. Stay tuned, we've got all the details right after the break. Hello again and welcome to the program. First off, in our topical news, in the last 24 hours, Palestinian officials report 8 new Zionist massacres that resulted in 82 deaths and 98 injuries. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, this adds to the toll since October, with 32,705 killed and 75,190 wounded in Gaza due to the Zionist aggression. On Saturday, the Gaza Strip witnessed another wave of violence as Zionist airstrikes and artillery shelling continued for the 178th day. According to the Palestinian news agency, at least 40 Palestinians were killed and numerous others injured in various areas, including Shuja'iyah, the Kani crossing, near a Shifa hospital, and Al Maghazi camp. In Khan Yunis, airstrikes targeted several areas, causing widespread destruction, with reports of 3 fatalities and several injuries in the Abasan al-Kabira area. And in Khan Yunis, still, the Zionist occupation forces have maintained a blockade around the Shifa medical complex and its surroundings for the past 13 days. The area has been subjected to intense bombing or bombardment, with reports of airstrikes targeting the vicinity of the Nasser medical complex and residential homes in the camp. Additionally, there have been executions, arrests, torture, and forced displacement of residents by the Zionist forces in the surrounding area. Occupation aircraft targeted a house in Al Maghazi refugee camp in central Gaza Strip, resulting in casualties, injuries, and significant damage to nearby homes. Additionally, the headquarters of the municipalities in Bouraj and Zawaida were bombed, rendering them inoperative, according to reports from the Palestinian news agency. Furthermore, raids were conducted on the vicinity of Wadi Gaza Bridge in the northern area of the central governorate of the Strip. And in international reactions, Filippo Lazzarini, the Commissioner General of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, has called on countries worldwide to step up pressure for the implementation of the International Court of Justice's order. He emphasized the urgency of ensuring the delivery of essential aid to Gaza residents.
The renewal of the binding order from the International Court of Justice yesterday is a stark reminder that the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip is man-made and getting worse. It means that Israel must reverse its decisions and allow UNRWA to deliver food convoys to the northern Gaza and open additional land crossings. Member states should exert more pressure to implement the order of the International Court of Justice, and those who stopped funding UNRWA should reconsider their decision and help avoid famine.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has estimated that approximately 9,000 patients in the Gaza Strip urgently require life-saving health services. This includes individuals with cancer and those who sustained injuries from bombings. The UN agency made this assessment in a statement published recently, highlighting the critical health care needs in the region. Zakaria Sarsek, a Palestinian boy in Gaza, lives with doctors at Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital. He assists in caring for the wounded, fueling his dream of becoming a nurse. Here's Salman Asib.
Zakaria Sarsak, 12, residing in the besieged Gaza Strip amid the Zionist relentless bombings, and selfishly helps hospital staff. As the genocidal war attacks persisted since October 7th, casualties continue to rise. Zakaria, who was forced by the circumstances of the Zionist aggression to forcibly migrate with his family to the Deir el-Balah area in the central Gaza Strip, he refused to be an ordinary child. Wearing a blue smock, he dashes through the corridors, helping patients and nurses by transporting medical supplies and meeting patients' needs, undeterred by his age.
I studied with doctors, memorized everything, and then learned and did as a coroner for this. I wrote the analyzer and solved what I first started. Not a people I'm with. I just help them, bring them gurneys. I studied with doctors and everything, and then I learned from them. I tell them I work with you, and we work together. I want to become a doctor, and when I grow up, I will become a doctor. God willing, the war will end, and our children will be happy.
For his part, Iyad Abu Zahir, the director of the Aqsa Martyrs Hospital, praised the commendable efforts of Zakaria, who tirelessly supports both the patients and the medical teams.
This child, displaced within, arrived at Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital when he saw the doctors and the medical teams working around the clock. He also witnessed the injured and the martyrs that reached this hospital. This was a great effort on the part of the doctors and the medical teams, and this is the truth. This child is of a noble character. He visited the reception area and offered whatever services he could provide to the patients and the injured, including efforts to enhance or alleviate the psychological impact on them.
Zakaria aspires to be a doctor in the future and hopes that life will give him the opportunity to realize his dream of helping patients and saving lives. Indeed, this Palestinian child is an example to be emulated in courage and resistance while he is facing the most despicable occupation known to humanity with steadfastness, strength, and infinite confidence in achieving victory.
Palestinians commemorated Land Day's 48th anniversary amid ongoing occupation policies. A report by the Wall and Settlement Resistance Commission highlighted significant territorial seizures. Activities concluded with a rally in Kafr Hana with about 10,000 demonstrators calling to end the war on Gaza.
On Earth Day, it's been 48 years since a policy that has not changed was decided by Israeli Prime Minister Rabin in 1976, who chose to use fire and bullets to intimidate our people and also wanted to confiscate their land. But our people did not fear Rabin or his bullets. They came out to protest and raise their voices against these acts. The fall of martyrs has continued since 1948, and although Rabin is no longer in power today, there are those who are worse than Rabin in their policies.
On Land Day, the political solution today, especially in Gaza, is unprecedented in human history in any form. We deeply regret such terrible conditions. The people of Gaza suffer from hunger, water shortages, and lack of medicines. And unfortunately, 2 billion Muslims cannot even deliver a bottle of water to Gaza.
And as you followed in our headlines, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune reaffirmed Algeria's dedication to supporting the state of Palestine and attaining full membership in the United Nations, regardless of its occupation status. Abdelmadjid Tebboune made this statement during a televised and radio broadcasted media meeting.
فلسطين تصبح عضو كامل حقوق معركة اللي أنا قائمة بها الجزائر، وأنا باسم الجزائر باسم الجزائريات والجزائريين لما أخذت الكلمة في الجمعية العامة للأمم المتحدة قلت آن الأوان أن فلسطين تصبح عضو كامل الحقوق وكامل العضوية في الأمم المتحدة ولو محتلة.
Vous croyez à l'aboutissement de ce combat?
J'en suis sûr.
Que le combat aboutira.
وفلسطين تكون عضو دائم في الأمم المتحدة. وما نتركش ميدان المعركة حتى نوصل للنتيجة هذه إن شاء الله. حب نحب وكره من كره. احنا هذا مبدأنا. بغض النظر على واش يقول فلان ولا فلان، فلسطين تدخل كعضو كامل في الأمم المتحدة. احنا دخلناها كعضو ملاحظ، جاء الوقت اليوم باش ندخلوها كعضو كامل.
And on the same occasion, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune stressed the importance of voting for Palestine in the United Nations Security Council, describing it as the minimum measure needed to address the ongoing atrocities against Palestinians.
بالنسبة لنا هو أضعف الإيمان. أضعف الإيمان أن يكون فيه قرار ليأمر الكيان باش يوقف جرائم الإبادة اللي قايمين بها على الفلسطينيين بصفة عامة، لأن فيه الضفة، فيش إلا غزة، فيه الضفة كذلك فيها مئات ضحايا في الضفة. لو من لهم القوة الرادعة للكيان يفرضوا عليه يمتثل القرار تاع الأمم المتحدة.
Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune expressed optimism about the establishment of a Palestinian state, citing European Union support. He mentioned several EU countries' readiness to recognize Palestine, underscoring the success of Algeria's diplomatic endeavors. Let's listen.
أما الحقيقي موجود هو اليوم الاتحاد الأوروبي ينادي بالدولة الفلسطينية. فيه دول في الاتحاد الأوروبي اللي أبدت استعدادها للاعتراف بالدولة الفلسطينية. إذا معاركنا تجيب ونواصل المعركة معهم، هذو أصدقاء نواصل معهم المعركة لأن احنا وحدنا معنا ما نديروا، ولكن قدرة الإقناع والنزاهة نتاع الطرح الجزائري يجيب نتيجة إن شاء الله.
The Arab Parliament calls for international justice standards to resolve the Palestinian issue. They emphasize ending occupation, establishing a Palestinian state with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital, and ensuring the right of return to all the displaced. They also urge the international community to intervene to stop Gaza aggression and the genocidal war and prevent forced displacement, citing efforts to undermine Palestinian identity. France, Egypt and Jordan issued a joint statement calling for the swift and safe delivery of humanitarian aid to civilians throughout the Gaza Strip. The statement was released following a meeting of the foreign ministers of Egypt, Jordan and France in Cairo earlier today. The three nations expressed opposition to any potential attack by the Zionist occupation on Rafah and called for an immediate cessation of hostilities.
What stops providing food and medicine to Gaza? It's a political decision for an extremist government who decided to use starvation as a weapon. We can deal with the famine that Gaza's people are facing in a very short time. What's needed is that Israel opens the land crossings for aid to enter from Egypt and from Jordan and to stop denying entry of aid.
Mon pays s'oppose fortement et formellement.
My country strongly and formally opposes any such offensive in Rafah. We also consider that it's time for the hostilities to stop, and that's what the United Nations Security Council has been asking for without ambiguity in the resolution voted last Monday. And in the face of a humanitarian emergency, France, Egypt, and Jordan will continue to work together on this matter.
À travailler ensemble sur ce volet-là.
And in Morocco, opposition to normalization between the government and the Zionist entity grew large as the country's largest cities saw massive night marches on Friday in solidarity with Palestine. Here's Islam Said.
Anti-normalization movement in Morocco is steadily gaining ground. Nightly marches held in Rabat and other cities articulate a clear demand to cease normalization with the Zionist entity. Hundreds of thousands take to the streets to denounce Western backing of Zionist atrocities against Palestinians. They demand that the Moroccan government revoke its recognition of the Zionist entity and shut down its liaison office in Rabat.
We demand that the Moroccan government withdraw its recognition of the Zionist entity because there is no longer any justification for such recognition. We also call for the closure of the Zionist liaison office in Rabat because it has attacked the Palestinian people and seeks their annihilation and eradication from existence. We condemn the Zionist entity's disregard for international decisions and Security Council resolutions.
These demonstrations, arranged by the National Action Group for Palestine, along with various Moroccan associations, unions and organizations, aligned with the Palestinians' Earth Day, demonstrate in solidarity with their cause.
The Moroccan people stand with Palestine, with the resistance, and against the Zionist army, which has killed children, women, and the elderly. Therefore, the slogan of this nighttime march is that despite the killings, destruction, and hunger, Gaza has triumphed, and the Zionist entity will disappear. We said this at the beginning, and we reaffirm it today.
The ongoing process of normalization legitimizes the Zionist occupation and its policies. It also constitutes a betrayal of the Palestinian people. This resonates strongly among the thousands of Moroccans participating in Ramadan marches, underscoring their resolve to resist agendas that run against their identity and principles.
Let's delve into other news now. 3 officers and a civilian translator from the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, were injured on Saturday in a drone strike targeting the vehicle in southern Lebanon. The Lebanese news agency reported that the attack occurred near the border town of Ramaish. One of the injured is in critical condition. Lebanon's foreign ministry condemned the attack, announcing plans to file an urgent complaint within the UN Security Council. In other news, the International Monetary Fund anticipates Algeria's real growth to remain robust this year at 3.8%. This projection is supported by a rebound in fuel production and strong performances in the industrial, construction and services sectors. The IMF's findings were based on discussions with Algeria under Article 8 of its funding agreement. Still in relation with the economy, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune announced an optimistic outlook for the country's economy, expecting the gross domestic product, GDP, to reach $400 billion by the end of 2026. He further revealed plans to double Algerian salaries by 2027, with initial increases of approximately 52% scheduled between 2025 and 2027. President Abdelmadjid Tebboune made these announcements during a televised and radio broadcasted media meeting.
هذا الشيء اللي يخليني نتفائل. لأول مرة ما ناش في تناقضات مع الهيئات المالية والاقتصادية العالمية الدولية. ولا بنك مونديال، لو اف ام اي، لا اف او، هذو كل متفقين معنا على ارقامنا. ولما نقول انا مثلا باللي وصلنا ل ان تو دو كرواسونس، نسبة مئوية تاع النمو ب 4.2%، 4.2% حقيقية باعتراف من الهيئات الدولية، مع أننا في الطريق صحيح. Et c'est pour ça que لازم نواصل باش نوصل إن شاء الله في 2025، نهاية 2025 بداية 2026، ربما السداسي الأول. نعطيك أرقام اللي تخليك تعتز أنك بديت tu es un pays émergent. Tu n'es plus un pays en voie de développement. Fin 2025, début, premier trimestre, semestre 2026, le PIB interne, Inch'Allah, va dépasser les 400 milliards de dollars. Inch'Allah.
Fin 2026.
Maximum, en cours de 2026. On arrivera, le taux de croissance, on va le maintenir.
On this occasion, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune talked about the timing of the upcoming elections, shedding light on various factors influencing the decision of advancing the elections.
والله يصعب الجواب، لأن تقدمت أسباب وأسباب وأسباب، حتى الأجانب دخلوا فيها وتكاهنوا على أساس هي أسباب تقنية محضة. أسباب تقنية محضة ما تأثرش في الانتخابات، ولا في ضرورة الانتخابات، ولا في والمنطلق الأساس تاع التغيير التوقيت هذا هو أن شهر ديسمبر ماهوش الشهر الحقيقي تاع الانتخابات. الانتخابات كنا نعرف أن في 2019 بعد استقالة الرئيس المرحوم رحمه الله كان فيه تولي سلطة من طرف رئيس مجلس الأمة مع تحديد الوقت تاع الانتخابات. مع الأسف الوقت ما سمحش الانتخابات، وقع فيه تمديد آخر إلى آخره. يعني 12 ديسمبر ماهوش التاريخ الرسمي تاعنا تاع الجزائر اللي متعودين فيه الانتخابات. والأسباب تقنية محضة ما تأثر لا على ضرورة الانتخابات ولا على كيفية سيرورة الانتخابات. والباقي كله فلسفة وتكهنات. اللي يبغيك يشوف فيها أمور إيجابية، واللي يكرهك يشوف فيها أمور سلبية وخلاص.
On the same occasion, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune responded to questions about his potential candidacy in the upcoming election by stating that it's not the right time to address the matter.
C'est une manière indirecte de me poser la question est-ce que نترشح ولا ما نترشحش؟ وما نجاوبش.
Exact.
وما نجاوبكش لأن avant l'heure ce n'est pas l'heure. وأعتقد أن ماهوش وقتها. مازال فيه برنامج ولازم نوصلوا البرنامج تاعنا. مازال فيه زيارات. هذا برنامج تاعي، برنامج مازال فيه 5 شهور قبل الانتخابات.
هل لنا أن نعرف بالتحديد الولايات التي ستزورونها خلال الفترة المتبقية؟
هو اللي أكيد خنشلة وتيسمسيلت وتيزي وزو هذه، وربما جانت ربما يعني مازال ما حددناش من هي الأولى والثانية والثالثة. ممكن تكون فيه ولايات أخرى أنا شخصيا صراحة عندي رغبة كبيرة باش نزور قسنطينة، راني في مدة ما رحت ليهاش وألفتها وألفوني هما الناس تاع قسنطينة، وإن شاء الله نمشي بها كذا قسنطينة. في شي لا قسنطينة فيه باتنا، فيه تيارت، فيه.
Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune expressed his intention to proceed with his planned visit to France, deeming it an important historical appointment.
Oui, bien sûr qu'elle est maintenue. Elle est maintenue pour plusieurs raisons. D'abord, je crois que c'est un rendez-vous à ne pas rater de l'histoire. Hein. Pas un rendez-vous entre le président Macron et le président algérien, non.
Pardon, vous dites un rendez-vous de l'histoire.
De l'histoire.
Et pourquoi?
وصلنا لمرحلة النضج باش نشوف الأمور
كما يجب أن تكون.
كما يجب أن نراها، مش عاطفيا ولا. اليوم فيه عمل إيجابي قامت به الجمعية الوطنية الفرنسية لما اعترفوا بالجريمة اللي ارتكبها بابون في 1961. خطوة إيجابية. اليوم فيه فريق مختلط يخدم على الذاكرة، وأنا قلت الذاكرة ما نتخلاوش عليها. الذاكرة ملف الذاكرة ماشي، وبالإضافة إلى أننا اليوم أصبحنا دولة فاعلة في البحر الأبيض المتوسط.
C'est une nouvelle page qui
Une refondation des relations مع l'ancien colonisateur. Sans laisser un millimètre من شيء اللي الواجب نتاعنا إزاء شهدائنا، شهداء المقاومة وشهداء حرب التحرير.
Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune emphasized the nation's commitment to peaceful coexistence with brotherly countries. Despite perceived provocations, President Abdelmadjid Tebboune reiterated Algeria's stance of non-violence and prayer for guidance for those who may stray from the righteousness.
أنا في رمضان وكل الأشقاء يشهدوا على أننا ما زال ما مشيناش كلام يعني في عنف بالنسبة للناس هذو. نعتبرهم دائما أشقاء، طلبوا لهم الهداية، وهذا شهر رمضان إن شاء الله ربي يهديهم، لأن التصرفات تاعهم غير منطقية. يبدو لي باللي مثل ما يقول أخذتهم العزة بالإثم، يعني كيفاش حنا ما تخليناش كذا وكذا وكذا. طلبوا لهم الهداية إن شاء الله. الجزائر ما تركعش، ولاو ياخذوا العبرة، ياخذوا العبرة من الدول العظمى اللي نحترموها كتير وتحترمنا هي تاني، وقرارنا محترم. لكن تبغي التصرفات اللي عندك مع ناس اخرين تفرضها عليا، راك غلط بزاف. حنا في 5,630,000 شاهد من أجل هذه البلاد هذه، وقرب لا بغيت. هذا ما كان تخريب. الإنسان اللي يخصص المال تاعو باش يخرب، الفتنة مش مليحة. من أيقظ نار الفتنة يعني عليه اللعنة بالتقريب،
فهو آثم.
مش إلا آثم، يعني نشوف في كل الأماكن اللي فيها تناحر بين الناس دائما المال تاع الدولة موجود في الجوار، في اليمن، في هذه، في ليبيا، في السودان، لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. احنا ما نكنوا لهم حتى عداوة، لأن احنا محتاجين للجزائري والجزائرية لله عز وجل دابور، والجزائري والجزائري ماناش محتاجين. نتمنوا التعايش سلمي مع كل الأمم، عرب وعجم،
العلاقات الطيبة مع الجميع.
هذا هو اللي يحوس يتبلى علينا، ما للصبر حدود.
Let's catch up on other stories with Sofian Kinturi now.
Hundreds of thousands of Britons participated on Saturday in a demonstration to commemorate Land Day in support of the Palestinian people and denounce the continuation of the crimes of the Zionist occupation in the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, in France, protesters and participants from associations and elected officials called on the French authorities to impose sanctions on the Zionist entity to enforce the orders of the International Court of Justice. The Senate in Buenos Aires decided to freeze the process of transferring the Argentine embassy to occupied Quds after opposition from lawmakers from the country's leftist parties. The decision came less than 2 months after the Argentine president Javier Milei visited the Zionist entity and announced his intention to move his country's embassy to the occupied Quds, in a decision that the Palestinian government considered a step that puts Argentina as a partner of the occupier in its violation against the Palestinian people and their national rights to their lands and holy sites. The Russian Defense Ministry announced on Saturday that 58 strikes were carried out on the facilities of the Ukrainian military-industrial complex and its supporting infrastructure. A hostage-taking operation in the Netherlands that lasted several hours ended on Saturday without casualties, as all the detainees were released and the suspect was arrested by the police. According to the authorities, there is no reason to suspect a terrorist motive for the attack, which took place at a cafe frequented by young people in the town of Eda.
The end of our news. Thank you for watching and take care.